Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this short session on talent development through trusteeship. My name is Nigel Kippax. I am Partnership Director at Getting On Board. My pleasure to be with you. And just to put a little bit of context for this, at Getting On Board, we have a remit of changing the face of charity trusteeship. We're encouraging more and more people to look at trusteeship from whatever background, ethnicity and age and gender they are. One of the ways in which we are pushing this is to recognize that actually trusteeship is a vastly underutilized opportunity for talent development, and there are real benefits to be achieved through looking at trusteeship, maybe through a slightly different lens. That's the context of today's session. We will be covering briefly the context and role of the trustee, and within that we'll start to understand some of the challenges, the opportunities. We'll look at those challenges, we'll look at the opportunities, and we'll look at some of the potential next steps that you could take within talent development, the plans for talent development in your own organization. So very quickly, very briefly, let's look at the context. So the charity sector, let's remind ourselves, the charity sector is made up of 160,000 registered charities here in the UK, and the size of those charities ranges from £500 million towards almost £1 billion for the British Council, down to, well, very, very small charities, maybe your local village hall, charities that are run entirely by volunteers. But as a sector, it employs 800,000 people, roughly. About 50% of the entire UK population volunteer in some way or another. And there are almost 1 million trustee positions. And the vast majority of those trustee positions are voluntary, not all of them, but most of them. As a sector, turns over 60 billion. And the reason I highlight that, and these are numbers you are likely to be familiar with already, is that the Charity Commission rules and guidelines apply for all those charities. And every charity has the same governance structure. And because those rules and guidelines apply to such a wide variation of charities, and it throws up some interesting challenges for trustees who are the senior role in the charity to really answer the question, well, it depends. What's right for us? What's right for this particular charity? And just worth hanging on to that for a moment. Let's look at the role of the trustee as laid out by the Charity Commission, which says that, and this is documented in the Essential Trustee, CC3, and this says that as a trustee, you will ensure the charity provides public benefit. You will ensure the charity always acts within the governing document. So there's an oversight role here to make sure that the charity does what it said it would do in its documents that it prepared and delivered to the Charity Commission at formation. So do you do what it says on the can? You will, as a trustee, always act in the charity's best interests. That's Charity Commission terminology. I really do prefer to say always act in the best interests of the charity's beneficiaries or the charity's purpose. You don't necessarily act in the best interests of the charity as an organization in its entity, but you're taking decisions for the good of society. You're taking decisions focused on the charity's beneficiaries, and you are there to make sure that that the right reporting, accounting is done. You're also there to ensure the assets and resources are used to best effect, and that can be a very broad remit. You're also expected to act with reasonable care and skill, and depending on where your background, your skills. Interesting point here that reasonable care and skill. That doesn't mean you need to be an absolute expert in everything. It means you need to act with reasonable care and skill, and if you do so, that's enough. In terms of risk, personal liability, that's okay. So that so the role, there's some roles in the part of that role is following rules. Part of it is compliance, but there's also judgment decisions in here, and it's an environment that is perhaps slightly lower risk than than an employee would be within their work environment. So context, interesting context. Now, if we look at actually, if that's the role description, what a trustee is expected to do, if we'd actually look who takes up this role, well, the average age of trustees is around 58-ish, 58, 59, 2/3 male, mainly white. That tells you something about the diversity of charity boards. And of course, if we're looking at diversity, what does it actually tell you in terms of how that organization may make decisions? And and actually, a lot of charities struggle to find trustees, 75% of them, but only 10% of roles are actually advertised. Oh, so that starts to tell you about, well, where do trustees come from? And there's the tap on the shoulder of people you know, and it's largely an invisible market. That is one of the main reasons why, as getting on board, we are encouraging so many employers to work with their employees to get employees into trusteeship, or at least to consider trusteeship, because together we feel we can change those numbers. We can certainly affect the average age. If you're employed, then you're going to pull that average age down, and we need to address the other issues, and we need to help people find new trustee positions. We need to ensure that trustees positions are more transparent, and it's easier to find them. So that's the context briefly, and within which we're working. And you can already start to see that there's one or two opportunities that might be coming up here for employees. Let's look at particularly some of the challenges that trustees face when they're on the board. Let's just look at a handful of them. So the board is a team of part-time volunteers. So board dynamics, working together as a team. Decisions are collective, and it's not decisions made by the chair of trustees. They are collective, but it is the most senior role in the charity. So there's some really big challenges around there, particularly around dynamics and decision making. The board executive working relationship. So every charity has a board of trustees, largely voluntary. And if we look at charities that employ an executive team, so the larger charities, then that chief executive or charity director or key person would report into the board. That's an interesting dynamic in itself, and where a full-time salaried person can report to a part-time volunteer. And one of the things that the challenges this brings up is striking a balance between what I would call hands-off and hands-on. How much do we get involved in the day-to-day operations, and how much do we stand back and recognise that actually the executive are in the best position to run the charity day-to-day? And going back to what we've said about 160,000 charities, the answer is it depends. There is no single answer. So that balance, striking that balance, is a real challenge for trustees. No right answer. So judgment call. Another challenge is when making decisions, you place the beneficiaries at the forefront of all the decisions. That itself can be challenging. Egos need to be put to one side. Power plays need to be put to one side. So really focusing on the core values and the core purpose of an organization in making decisions, that's a challenge. From a trustee's point of view, another challenge is actually making time. Trusteeship does require some time, normally around about an hour, maybe 2 hours a week. It could be longer if the charity is in crisis mode or if there's a particular project that's coming up. So be aware that it is going to take some of your time. The other challenge to highlight is the challenge of leaving a legacy. So trustees typically have a 3-year term of office, maybe 2 times 3 years, option for 3 to 6 years. And it would be easy to fall into a mindset of, I'm here just to run the charity and make sure everything is kept safe, so that when I hand it back after 3 years, I'm handing back a safe charity. One of the challenges I would put to all trustees is to say, well, is that enough? Is it actually enough to hand back a safe charity, or are you looking to hand back a better charity? Excuse me. And if you're looking to hand back a better charity, what does that mean? How are you going to achieve it? So there's some quite strategic, forward-thinking type of discussions in here, which are a real challenge. But of course, with the challenge comes the opportunity, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So we've talked a little bit about the environment, the context, the challenges of being a trustee. So the opportunities. Well, this is where we get to what I call the triple whammy, the win-win-win. If we attract more people of higher caliber and different mindsets, different perspectives into charity leadership, then that is a win for society. More effective charities through better decision making at board level. That's what we're striving to do. So there's a win for society. But as an individual, you come into this environment, and it can be an enormously steep learning curve, an enormously rewarding learning curve. There's leadership skills working at board level. You may be working at board level 10, 20 years before you would work at board level in your current employer, if indeed you ever got to board level. So there's some real leadership skills that you can develop, perceptions about working at senior level. You'll develop knowledge on issues like governance, charity finance, strategy. If it could also include HR development and policies, procedures, that those governance frameworks. These are areas of knowledge that you may pick up as in your day job, or you may not. One of the things we've often seen is when individuals come into trusteeship, they realise that they've got skills that maybe they didn't realise were transferable. They've had skills they were employing in their day job, and they're able to bring those into a charity. And that's self-awareness of transferable skills is a really big, I feel, win for the individual. And with that self-awareness, with that those transferable skills, comes increased confidence. And as an individual, if you're more confident in your work, then you probably enjoy it more, and you also get a greater sense of achievement. So there's some real wins in there for the individual. So win for society, win for the individual. But the reason we're having this conversation today is we're talking about talent development. So we're talking about talent HR directors, talent development directors, learning and development directors who are employed to do this role. So what's the win for your employer? Why would your employer pay and invest time for individuals to become trustees? Well, we've seen the win for the individual, but and if the individuals benefit from this, then that is can be extremely cost-effective leadership development. Compare this with sending somebody on a 2-week program at a top business school or an MBA, and you can see that the bang for the bucks is huge, or can be huge. The benefit also, if looking at those win for the individual and bringing those to the employer, increased employee satisfaction and motivation. And you'll all realize that if you've got more motivated, more satisfied employees, that will have knock-on benefits in terms of retention of employees, recruitment of employees, and there are big financial benefits from addressing those issues. The third point is that it can, if you use it within your marketing brief, it can be of public benefit, of benefit to your public profile. If you become an employer that's recognised for supporting the local community or supporting the broader community through skilled leadership, skilled trusteeship, then that can improve your profile. So why do it? Well, it's a triple whammy. It's good for society, good for the individual, and good for the employer. So really, my message to senior HR talent development L&D individuals is, why not? Why would you not look at this as part of your talent development and learning pathways? some little bit of data just to support what I've been saying. We asked a number of trustees a number of questions, and 96% of them said they learnt new skills as being a trustee. 73% said it had boosted their confidence. 84% said it made them happier. So that backs up what we were saying. 86% said it's a good complement to professional and family life. So this work-life balance and this whole agenda of well-being kind of, it starts to have an impact there as well. And 38% had new leadership aspirations as a result. So asking questions about what could I be doing next? Again, if you're in the business of developing the talent in your organization, these are 5 areas that I'm sure you're very interested in. So those are some of the benefits. These are some of the organizations we've worked with recently, and it spans financial services, corporate sector, universities, public sector, the whole range. And really the opportunity here is for any organization that employs people. And the more people you employ, the greater the opportunity. But could your organization be added to this list? That would be the question. Well, if you are considering adding your organization to this list, then there's some messages for you as an employer that I'd like to just run through. Firstly, this is not just for senior level employees. This is a talent development, an opportunity for a talent development pathway that applies from fresh graduates that come into your organization right the way through, or even just recent employees. They don't have to be graduates that come into your organization right through. So it's not just for senior employees. Second message for you as an employer is integrate this within your talent pathways and strategic HR plan. Don't put it alongside the work that you do with business schools, with leadership development, with MBAs, with education. This can be into that mix and can be a really valuable component of that mix. The third message we'd give is that make time for volunteering and self-managed learning amongst your employees. Many organizations do this already. They give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days a year, usually not a lot, to spend volunteering. And that volunteering time could be volunteering painting a shed, but it could also be volunteering in a skilled way as a trustee, and handling, and then the individual self-manages their learning. I think give them time. If give your employees time, and if they take it up and use it, then the benefits for you will multiply. The final point, final message to the employer is that getting an individual, getting an employee into a trusteeship is a fantastic start, but it's not the end of the line. How do they bring that learning back to the workplace? How do they share that learning with other employees who are also in different charities and different experiences as a trustee? Create the alumni learning groups. Bring these people together to share experiences, and together they can build the confidence, learn together, build new relationships, and help to bring those new skills and that confidence back to the workplace. So those will be my key messages for the employer. So talent development through trusteeship, why not? From a sector point of view, there's a real need. From an individual point of view, there's a real opportunity. And from the corporate point of view, it's cost effective. Why wouldn't you think about it? So that brings me on briefly to next steps. So at Getting On Board, we deliver a range of learning workshops, many of which are free to attend. We have a number of helpful publications accessible on the website about becoming a trustee, diversifying your board, and many other topics around trusteeships, boards and trusteeships. We also have our flagship program, our Charity Board Leadership Program, which often forms the backbone of talent development. The Charity Board Leadership Program is delivered online through 6 2-hour sessions. It's done cohort based, for between 10 and 20 people. We run open programs. We can run internal programs as well. So we can work on the preparation, the boosting the awareness of charity trusteeship. We can work with you on a charity board leadership program, and then we can help you with the alumni and bringing that learning back to the workplace. So much of this support material is on the website gettingonboard.org. And so the question for you would be, can we help? We're passionate about changing the face of charity trusteeship. We're passionate about getting people into trusteeship who wouldn't have normally have thought about this. And one of the big sources of potential trustees are organizations who employ people. Working with you to access and support your employees to look at and consider trusteeship, and then guide them and support them through that journey to trusteeship and beyond. So if that's for you, and then let's talk. Contact Getting On Board. You can contact me at Getting On Board, and we look forward to speaking to you. And thank you for listening. And yes, thank you again. That's enough. Bye for now.